So here we have a lovely combination of the SSL Fusion paired with the Rupert Neve Portico 2 master bus processor. Now, first of all, I will start this video by saying, please stop comparing these two directly. They are not alike. The only thing that is similar about these is they are both called master bus processors. That's all that's the only thing that's similar. The other thing that's maybe slightly similar is you've got a stereo image on the Fusion and you've got a stereo field editor on the Neve. That is literally it, and they aren't even similar. So what is the Rupert Neve Portico 2? Now the Portico 2 is basically a compressor. This is a compressor. You've also got the silk red and silk blue textures which you can apply, and then you have the stereo field editor. That is what it is. Now the Fusion is totally different. It's a vintage drive, it's a high and low shelf EQ, it's a high frequency compressor with a listen mic compressor, a stereo image, transformer and an insert point. Can you like literally, by me telling you what this is and what this is, why would anyone think that we need to do any sort of comparison of this versus this? It's not a case of they're in any way similar. It's not like this is a compressor and this is a compressor. This isn't a compressor. This is a compressor. This is a mixed bus processor. It's a mixed bus compressor. They shouldn't be compared. They should be paired. They should be paired together, right? And that is how they work best. Now I've got two of these, the Portico 2s. I have one in one of my mastering studios and one in the other mastering studio. And the reason for that is because the stereo field editor on it is the best stereo field editor you will hear in music. Honestly, it is unbelievable what you can achieve using this as just as a stereo field editor. I'm not a big fan of the compressor on it. I'm not a big fan of that. But what I am a big fan of is using the stereo field editor with the compressor, with the texture. It sounds incredible. And that is, this unit is worth its weight in gold in any mastering chain, because you can't achieve what you can achieve on this, you can't achieve with anything else. It is so unique. Highly recommend getting a Portico 2, but here's the thing, is you are literally buying it for the stereo field editor and using it in conjunction with this compressor. It's not a case of we're not going to use this compressor. This compressor, this is the best way to use it. Use better compressors. Use an alpha compressor. You know, that's your compressor. This is just a stereo field editor, and it is incredible for that. Right, so we've already done a review on the SSL Fusion, so we won't talk about the SSL Fusion. If you want to know about the SSL Fusion, go onto our YouTube channel and have a look at the SSL Fusion review. I am also later today going to build the SSL Fusion as a plugin, because I've got all the plugins, and I'm going to directly compare the Fusion with the SSL plugins. So that's going to be a really interesting test that I'm really intrigued about, and I want to genuinely know how that goes. But what we're going to do today is we are going to not compare these two. That's not what we're going to do. We're going to pair them together and see what they're like running together. We're going to use all of the Fusion's power in terms of the vintage drive. We're going to use the EQ. We're going to use the high frequency compressor. We're not going to maybe use too much of the stereo image because we might use it more in here. But we're going to then run through this Fusion, and we're going to then run through into the Portico 2. And we're going to use the Portico 2 as more of a mixed bus processor. We're going to use it as a compressor. We're going to use it as a stereo field editor. We're going to use it to add texture. That's how we're going to use this. So we're going to run into the Fusion, then into the mixed bus processor on the Portico 2, and build ourselves here a really, really nice mixed bus processor, because everything that the Portico 2 lacks, the Fusion has. Everything the Fusion lacks, the Portico has. So they work together. They're going to work together as a really nice combination. So let's see how it sounds.
Every time we're near each other, there's so much I can't see. There's evil in your eyes. Is he being faithful to me? Every time we're near each other, there's so much I can't see. There's evil in your eyes. Is he being faithful to me? Every time we're near each other, there's so much I can't see. There's evil in your eyes. Is he being faithful to me? Every time we're near each other, there's so much I can't see. There's evil in your eyes. Is he being faithful to me? Every time we're near each other, there's so much I can't see. There's evil in your eyes. Is he being faithful to me? Every time we're near each other, there's so much I can't see. There's evil in your eyes. Is he being faithful to me?
Cause when it pops off and dirty's involved, everybody knows man will get wrapped. I don't care what your name is, or where you're from, or the name of your squad and your gang. See, when I say I lay down crews, I ain't pulling out a camera and telling man plank. No way, I'ma bust something so big when it hits, it could turn over a tank. Cause when it pops off and dirty's involved, everybody knows man will get wrapped. I don't care what your name is, or where you're from, or the name of your squad and your gang. See, when I say I lay down crews, I ain't pulling out a camera and telling man plank. No way, I'ma bust something so big when it hits, it could turn over a tank. Cause when it pops off and dirty's involved, everybody knows man will get wrapped. I don't care what your name is, or where you're from, or the name of your squad and your gang. See, when I say I lay down crews, I ain't pulling out a camera and telling man plank. No way, I'ma bust something so big when it hits, it could turn over a tank. Cause when it pops off and dirty's involved, everybody knows man will get wrapped. I don't care what your name is, or where you're from, or the name of your squad and your gang. See, when I say I lay down crews, I ain't pulling out a camera and telling man plank. No way, I'ma bust something so big when it hits, it could turn over a tank. Cause when it pops off and dirty's involved, everybody knows man will get wrapped. I don't care what your name is, or where you're from, or the name of your squad and your gang. See, when I say I lay down crews, I ain't pulling out a camera and telling man plank. No way, I'ma bust something so big when it hits, it could turn over a tank. Cause when it pops off and dirty's involved, everybody knows man will get wrapped. I don't care what your name is, or where you're from, or the name of your squad and your gang. See, when I say I lay down crews, I ain't pulling out a camera and telling man plank. No way, I'ma bust something so big when it hits, it could turn over a tank.
So there we have the Fusion and the Portico 2. So the Fusion was running then into the Portico 2. And, I mean, it sounds great, it sounds good, but I don't feel like they complement each other massively. I feel like a different compressor, not this compressor, would be better paired with this. I did a comparison. I paired the SSL Bus Plus with this, and those two paired perfectly. It was like a marriage made in heaven. The Fusion, then into the Bus Plus, and it was brilliant. I had it on the insert, and it worked perfectly. I'm not as blown away with how these two pair. Like I said before, I don't use this in this way. I don't use this as a Fusion and then into this. I don't use this as the compressor. I'll do another video on how exactly I use this when I do the review of the Portico 2. But the question everybody asked me was what are my opinions on how these two pair together if you had a mixed bus processor. So you just had literally this over the mixed bus before it went into the mastering chain. It was like a mixed bus finalizer kind of thing. My verdict on it would be, I'd say one or the other. I wouldn't necessarily say that they pair well together. I wouldn't say that this and this is a marriage made in heaven. It's not. I don't think it is. Separately, they're brilliant. The Fusion is an amazing tool, and the Portico 2 is an amazing tool. I wouldn't necessarily have this personally. I wouldn't have this compressor over the mixed bus. It's just not my. It's not my cup of tea. It's not my. This compressor's not how I would want to compress a mixed bus. A G series bus compressor though, that sounds brilliant over a mixed bus. Like I said before, I use this as a stereo editing field, stereo field editor. It is just for stereo field. You can use it like this, and it sounded great. I mean, you can all listen to those demos and say, yeah, that sounds brilliant together, and it does. But it does. I don't think it sounds better than the SSL bus comp paired with that. I don't think it sounds better. The problem you've got is what you get extra with this is you've got the vintage drive and you've got this stereo field editor section, which it kind of doubles up here. The Fusion has a width. albeit that is a more detailed, better width control than the stereo image on there, but you have one on the Fusion already. The Silk Red and Blue is brilliant, but you also have the Vintage Drive. The Vintage Drive, when you're processing a mix, should generally stay off because it introduces too much surface noise. So that's always going to really be off. So you are really gaining that silk red, silk blue texture, and it does. That silk red and silk blue texture sounds phenomenally good. So really and truly, kind of when you use the Fusion and this, really all you're gaining is a compressor. And at $4,000, I'm not a massive fan of the compressor in the Portico 2. I'm not a huge fan of it. But as I keep saying, stereo field editor, use it as stereo field editor in conjunction with this compressor, and it is ridiculously good. It is one of the best stereo field editors you will hear. So my verdict, would I pair these two together over the mix bus? I personally wouldn't. I would either just have this over the mix bus, or I would have this over the mix bus. I don't think they complement each other in a really in that great a way. I would no disrespect to the Portico 2 because it is ridiculously good. I just don't like the compressor. I find it a bit too kind of sucky, and when you're putting it over a mixed bus, it doesn't really. I don't feel like I get that glue that I get with other compressors. So for that reason, I personally wouldn't have this combination as just my mixed bus finishing tool. Pick this up, put it further down the chain, take it separate from this Fusion, and then it's brilliant. But yeah, I mean, you be the judge. Listen to those demos, and what did you think of it? Did you think it was good? Did you think they paired together? I don't personally think they sound amazing together. They don't complement each other in a massive way, only because they double up on a couple of things, and I'd rather spend $4,000 on, like, I'd rather spend $2,000, put the Bus Plus in instead of this, and then still have this, believe me, still have this, but not use it as the compressor. Put this further down the chain and use it just as a stereo field editor. When I do the stereo field editing video on the Portico 2, you'll understand just how powerful this thing is for stereo width. It is ridiculously good.